Hi, Shepherd's Pie, greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a coffee and a chat about a difficult subject today. It's a delicate subject because I'm going to talk about someone to start off with, and I don't know this person. I've watched his channel for a number of years. I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of him. It's a popular channel. But I don't know the guy. I don't know him from Adam. I've just watched his channel, and his name is the channel is called Eddie Steady Travels. I think he's got two channels. I think one of them's called Eddie Steady 999 or something. But I will put the links in the description. Now, he's a British guy, and he's dying. Is basically the sad news. For the last, I don't know how many years, he has vlogged about his travels around the world, and it was only quite recently, I think, I don't know, about a year ago maybe, he decided to take the plunge and move to Asia. And sadly, not long after him getting there, I think it's only been a few months, he took sick and he was diagnosed with brain cancer, and he came back to the UK. And he wasn't actually diagnosed with brain cancer until he got back to the UK, I don't think. But they didn't give him long to live, you know, and I think they gave him not long, you know, as in a year or so. And I watched his video this morning, and they told him it's a matter of months now, which is very sad. As I say, I didn't know the guy, but he's in his early 60s. And as I say, if he doesn't like me making this video, if he contacts me, I'll take the video down, because it's got me thinking about a number of things. It's how sad it is that that's happened to him. As I say, I didn't watch the video religiously, watch his channel religiously. I watched it from time to time, like most channels. You dip in, you dip out. But it was good content, very good content. We're very different people. I mean, not much in common with us, between us, apart from the fact we're both English. But he had my same lust for travelling. You know, he was, you know, determined to travel. And as I say, I found his channel very interesting because a lot of the places I'd been to, some of the places I haven't. And it's strange because when you watch a channel for a period of time, you get to feeling like you know the guy, you know the person, when in reality you don't. But I was very sad to hear it when he got his diagnosis. Very sad, because as I say, he's approaching 63, which isn't any age. But what's really prompted me into making this video is his attitude. Because he's been so brave about it, and I take my hat off to him. He's basically said that, you know, although he's in his early 60s, he has led a very full life. He has travelled. He has been to so many places that he can accept he's coming to the end of the road now, but he doesn't have any regrets because he has done all the things that he wanted to do and more. And that's why I'm making this video, because I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want to get the same news, but if I got the same news, I would like to think, I'm pretty sure I would take the same attitude. You know, I would think, I have done a lot in my life. I have done all the things I wanted to do. And I think that's important. Now, don't get me wrong, I would have some regrets. I mean, some people would say, who know me, would say I've not accomplished as much as I could have done, that I've led a selfish life. And in many ways they're right. And in many ways, I don't care. It would probably be a regret to me if I was to find out didn't have long to go. I've never had kids. You know, there's lots of things I haven't done. But I've been very lucky in the sense that and it's luck, You know, it's nothing on my part, it's luck. I have achieved most of the things I wanted to do. I was able to stop working at a very young age, and oh good God, building work going on over there by the sounds of it. I have, you know, I've been able to do what I wanted to do in terms of travelling, living in different countries, experiencing, you know, different cultures and things like that. But I'm not boasting about that. I'm not bragging. As I say, it was luck. Everyone's life is luck, you know, businesses and things that I start. You know, it just worked out well for me. Now, what is this? No, thank you. It's the water guys delivering the water. So, I'm making this video. I am going to give some advice. I am going to suggest to some people out there, because I know I have a number of subscribers who are very unhappy in their lives in their home countries and are desperate to save enough money and leave to move to the Philippines or to Thailand or wherever. They're unhappy souls, and my heart goes out for them. It really does. And there will be a lot of people who are considering perhaps moving to Asia because they're not happy with their lives in the West or in their home countries. It doesn't have to be the West. They're not happy wherever, and they want to, or they're considering making the move. So the reason I'm making this video is to give you, I'm going to offer advice. I always say I don't offer advice on this channel, but I am going to offer some advice today, which will hopefully give you the push you need to maybe do it a bit sooner. Because one thing that Eddie's terrible situation brings home to people is you never know how long you've got. You know, you can push things off forever because tomorrow never comes, and before you know it, it's too late. And that's the reality for a lot of people, because we just don't know how long we've got. Now, I'm not going to give you any financial advice. You know, as I've always said on these channels, on my videos, you know, take advice with a pinch of salt. The suggestions I'm going to make now might not fit into your situation. You might not be able to do it now. And if you can't, well, don't take my advice, you know, and I mean that seriously. Because it will only be a small percentage of people who can do what I'm about to suggest. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you some why I think it might be a good idea, if you can, to make the jump now rather than later. Because there are a number of benefits of doing it now, if you can. So, one of the benefits of doing it now, or one of the things I would say if you're thinking about doing it, you don't have to plan for a lifetime ahead in a foreign country, because that's a very difficult thing to do. You know, when I first decided I was going to hit the expat trail and I was going to leave the UK full time and just live overseas, you start doing the maths. We all do. You start thinking, how long am I going to live? How long do I have to budget for? You know, how long will I be in this country? You know, what will I need to be comfortable for the rest of my life? Well, the reality is, it's an incredibly difficult calculation to come up with, because until you've been and you've lived in these countries, you don't really know how much it's going to cost to live there until you've experienced it. And more importantly, you've got no idea how long you're going to live. So these are very difficult calculations to come up with, and only you can do that and work it out in your mind. But I came to the conclusion very quickly when I was doing these calculations, I wouldn't know until I got there, wherever I was going, and I lived there. And I didn't come to Asia straight away. I went to America first. Las Vegas was the first place I decided to live. And if I had done my calculations based on Las Vegas, which I did to be fair, they'd have been vastly different than to my living costs in Thailand. I mean, much more expensive to live in Vegas than it was in Thailand. But the point is, I had my heart set on Vegas, but it didn't work out. You know, after 6 months, I had enough of the place. I've never had the urge to go back there again. And it was a place I used to love. I used to go there when I had the business and things. I was going there 4 or 5 times a year. Couldn't get enough of Vegas. But it was a very different thing to live there. That's why I'm saying to people, if you can do it now, plan to go there, but it doesn't have to be forever. Because I took the viewpoint that I would give living overseas a try, but there was a good chance it wouldn't work out. I wouldn't like it, things would fail, and I would have to come back to my home country. And I thought, well, I'd rather do that now, and if I have to come back to my home country, do it while I'm young enough to regroup. If I need to make some more money, I can do it. I don't want to be spending another 10, 15 years in the UK, then get into these places, deciding I don't like them or I don't have enough money or whatever, and having to come back and start a business in my late 50s or 60s, you know. So there is an advantage of doing it earlier. And as I say, take the view that if it doesn't work out, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have to go back to your home country to work for a few more years. So if you can, you might not be in a financial situation where you can do that yet. But the benefits of doing that are this. You might go to somewhere like Thailand for a few years and decide it's not for you. Well, you've learned a valuable lesson. You can go back, you can regroup, you can do it again, and you can go somewhere else, you know, because you've learned that lesson. Equally, if you go to somewhere like Thailand or the Philippines, we'll talk about the Philippines, I'm in the Philippines now, and you're only staying for a couple of years, or planning to, it makes your decisions very different in terms of buying land, building a house, etc. You know, rushing into a relationship, getting married. And without sounding condescending, it will make you wiser. I honestly believe if you've had a few years living in different countries before you decide to retire full-time in one of those countries, you are far less likely to be scammed. You are far less likely to make a lot of the mistakes that expats make, because you'll have been living in these countries and you will have seen those mistakes being made and you will learn. I mean, it makes me laugh. I've had a couple of videos recently where people have said, like, they've watched the videos. I'm assuming they don't know anything about, you know, about my life. They've just popped in. I had one the other day and he said, yeah, it all looks great. You seem like a nice guy, you know, but just wait until you get scammed by a local or robbed, etc. You know, basically trying to be nice, but putting the knife in, you know, like, you know, ha ha ha, it's all roses now, but just you wait till it goes wrong. Well, I get annoyed with those kind of comments because I think it's not my first rodeo. Why do you think I'm going to make these mistakes? But anyway, it's not about me, this video, it's about you. Just saying, if you do plan to go for a couple of years or a few years, you will become wiser. You are less likely to make the mistakes that a lot of people make. We call them the rookie mistakes. You'll be better prepared for when you eventually do retire to one of these countries. So that's a big benefit of doing it sooner rather than later. Another big benefit, and this is a huge one. This is a huge one. You don't know how things are going to pan out. I know people who have gone to countries with the intention of staying forever and have lasted a couple of years and gone back bitter and twisted because of the things that have happened to them. But equally, I know some people who've gone to countries with the intention of spending 1 or 2 years or just 6 months and have stayed there for a lifetime because opportunities have presented themselves to them. They have met people, they have started successful businesses, they have fell so in love with the country, they thought, I'm not going back. What happens, I cannot go back to my life in the West, and that has motivated them to do things online, etc. You just never know who you're going to meet, what's going to happen, what opportunities are going to fall on your feet. One thing's for certain, none of those opportunities and none of those people, you're not going to meet any of them if you don't actually come here first. And I can't overemphasize that. You know, for every story you hear about someone whose life has gone terribly wrong when they've retired overseas, there are, I wouldn't say equally as many. I mean, you've got to have something about you. But there are stories, and I do know people who've had the opposite. Things have gone fantastically well for them. They have made tremendous successes of their lives. However you judge success, I mean, it's a relative thing. And they've ended up staying for years. That could be you. But unless you try it, you won't know. The other one, which again, I think this is a massive one, I really do. You will get a lot of people you will meet over here, particularly in the Philippines, of a certain age. I mean old, let's face it, older than me, who have spent their lives working, and they've got to the retirement age, they've saved and they've saved and they've saved, and they've come to the Philippines, and they wish they had done it sooner. You know, they're the total flip of the ones who spent their whole life saving and then come over to the Philippines and don't like it. Because a lot of people will do that. That's why as I've said before, you've got to try these countries first if you can. Because you don't want to be in that situation where you spent your whole life dreaming about doing something and then you go and it fails. That is going to be a real kick in the arse. That must be so soul destroying to end up back in your home country where you weren't happy at an age where your options are limited in terms of what you can do next. But as I say, there's another bunch who come over and wish they'd done it sooner, and I can so relate to that. And I am so glad I don't fall into that category, because I did a video last week before, not many people watched it, and it was my life in Dumaguete and what we do in a week. Now, I know from the comments, a lot of people thought, and I understand it entirely, what a boring way to spend your life. Some people have said it's like Benidorm in the 80s, you know. And I get where they're coming from. I move in older circles now, I do. And I can understand why the quizzes and the playing bowls and the darts and that, people might think it's boring. And they'd be right, particularly if they're younger. But it's what I want to do now. It's what I'm happy doing now, because I'm in my early 50s, and I'm sure as I get older, my lifestyle compared to a lot of people's in terms of their views on life will become even more boring. I've no doubt I'll start going out less, or you know, I might even end up in the old coffee shops that I wouldn't say despise but don't go to now, talking to expats. You know, you never know. But the point is, the reason I am happy doing what might perceive as boring things now is because I've got the rest of it out of my system. I've got the younger stuff, I've been there, done that. You know, I grew up in the UK in what we call the rave generation. You know, I was a raver. I went to biology, I did these early raves and I loved it. It was fantastic. I would not take the 90s out of best decade of my life by a long way, the 90s. But I could still do that. Ibiza is still going. The music has changed somewhat, but it's still there. You know, it's not really deep trance anymore. It's all a bit too beaty and that for me now. But I don't want to. I have no interest in doing that now because I'm too old. I'm happy doing what I'm doing now. But why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because when I went to Thailand, you know, I have been out, I have partied, I have done the old full moon raves and that on the beaches and things, and I loved it. I loved it. If I had waited till my 60s or 70s to come over here, I would have missed all of that. Because the reality is, whether we like it or not, as we get older, what we want to do changes. And that would have been a shame. You know, if I'd come to Dumageddon 10, 15 years ago, I'd hate the place. I really would. You know, because not interested in a relationship then, at that stage in my life. I wouldn't have been happy doing quizzes. I never did a quiz in the UK, it wasn't my thing. You know, I have evolved into the person I am now. Everyone does. The point I'm getting at is, these things, or this evolution, was only an option. I only experienced it because I came here earlier. And that's a big thing, you know, it's a big thing, you know. I'm sure, I mean, you get it from the comments, a lot of the I say Americans, I say, look, I've got no problem with Americans. Sounds like I do, I honestly don't. Most of my subscribers are American, I really appreciate that. But there is a circle in Dumageddon who tend to drink in the coffee shops and things. They're not the people I mix with. They're not the people who watch my channel, I don't think. But when I did other interviews with Mark Thornton and with Paul Old Dog, and they were just, you know, they didn't like me, my interviews. You know, I was I'm an alcoholic, I'm this, I'm that, you know. What they don't want to see how some drunk fool spends his life, etc., etc. Now, you know, so these are the people I'm talking about, in the sense that I get where they're coming from. We're very different, and they are of an age. But equally, I don't think they would have liked the life they live now 10, 20 years ago. You know, I hope not. I hope they weren't like that their whole lives, you know, judgmental and, shall we say, boring. I don't know, maybe they were. But the point is, you know, a lot of people say your older days are your golden years. And hopefully they are, but I don't think they will be for me. I think I'll still enjoy life. But I think my best years were between the age of 20 and 50. You know, my 40s in Thailand was fantastic. You know, before then I travelled a lot. I mean, before I started travelling, we went on holiday a lot. As I say, Vegas 4 or 5 times a year. We used to go for the boxing a lot, and I would go to Egypt, diving, scuba dive. I love travel. I've always loved travelling. That's why I could relate to Eddie's channel, because he loves travelling. But anyway, I don't want to go on too long. I'm just making this video because it's sad news about Ed, but it's great news that he feels he's led a full life. And I hope you all feel that, you know, when we get the bad news eventually, because we're all going to get it at some stage, or we're all going to go at some stage. But and I know it's difficult, so I'm going to keep going in circles. I'm trying not to. I know it's very hard. If you're unhappy in your life, you've got to make calculations. You know, you've got to change something, but you don't want to change it too soon, because you're not in a position to make the changes. But equally, you don't want to leave it too late, because the later you leave it, the more chance you are that something's going to go wrong, God forbid, and you're not going to get to live your ambitions. And equally, I've forgotten what I was going to say now, you're going to appreciate it more if you do it sooner. I genuinely do think that's the case. So my advice on a channel where I never give advice is, do it as soon as you possibly can, and plan for the eventuality that it may only be for a couple of years. I'm not saying blow your savings or anything like that. You know, I'm not giving you financial advice. Only you know what's right for you. But it's like the old adage, tomorrow never comes. Don't put everything off for tomorrow. Strike while the iron is hot. Carpe diem, seize the day, if it's right for you. Because, as I say, I'm hoping this video, if you're one of those people, gives you the push. Because the reasons I've outlined why you should do it now, or should consider doing it now, I honestly think they're valid reasons. You know, definitely worked for me. You know, I've met some people since I retired where I could have done businesses and things like that. Didn't want to, don't need to, not really interested in working or making any more money in my life. At the moment, I might get bored, I might go back, but I have no regrets at, you know, hitting the expat trail at 40. And as I say, I know a lot of fascinating people who've been expats for a long time, who have led fantastic lives, who jumped early and never jumped with the intention of staying there for a lifetime. Things just happened. They were lucky. Things fell in their laps and, you know, it worked out great for them. But they would never have found these opportunities. Life would never have worked out as kindly for them if they hadn't taken the jump. You know, seize the day. Anyway, heart goes out to Eddie. So I will put the links there in the channel. I really hope he doesn't mind talking about me. I hope you don't think I'm lecturing people on how to lead their lives. I'm not. I'm just saying, if you're unhappy and you're making your plans and you're planning to move away eventually, I hope these words of encouragement give you some food for thought. You know, I hope they encourage you to make more informed decisions. Not going to say make the jump now, because I don't know if you're in a position to do that. But if you think about it too long, you will always find reasons why not to do it. You know, we all do. It's the way life works. If I hadn't got divorced from my wife, I wouldn't have taken the jump. Because she didn't want to. And you know, when you're in a relationship, it's give and take. You know, she didn't want to move overseas. Anyway, enough about me. Think about it. Only you know what's right for you, but think about what I've said. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it would be fantastic if you did. But whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe, be lucky.